Hello, guys. Welcome back. This isn't for me personally. I haven't had to go through this for a while, thankfully, but this is timely for one of you. And I know this is going to rub a lot of feathers the wrong way, but this is pretty specific towards Loki. Dealing with groupies. And everybody's like, oh no, what's happening? Do tell. Loki, like his brother, has this kind of rock star, bigger than life personality, a lot of magnetism, attracts a ton of people to him on a daily basis. And this is great for the god, but for the humans that actually worship the god, not so much. And he will attract groupies by the boatload. Unfortunately, these groupies also want to be only groupie, and they will go out of their way for as long as they are in the community, which is usually, thankfully, not long, to be last Lokean standing. They are just straight up nasty people. You know the type I mean. You've met them, and you do not like humanity as a species for at least a week. And it seems from what I've seen going on in every other spiritual and religious community, it seems like the groupies of all the gods have come out in force, and they are going to be the only fill in the blank left standing. And Loki groupies are pretty. Oh, they're a bit much of a bit much. One of the problem with dealing with, Lokean groupies is that we don't have the big official book, say a church or a mosque or a synagogue would. We don't have a big official book, one, to hit them with, which, believe me, you will want to hit them with something. And two, we don't have a priest, or we have wannabe priest, we have wannabe leaders, but we don't have a priest or a pope or anyone to go to and go, see, this is actually how you should do things. Loki is very much a free reign, do as you will god, but the problem with that is most people that cause problems interpret that to mean that they now have they kind of have the position of the god, and they are the god's personal mouthpiece on this planet. And I always try to caution you guys, I don't speak for the gods. I really don't. I make sure that they're okay with a video topic. Yeah, I was like, I looked at Loki and I'm like, is this okay? And he's like, eh. And I'll know if it's not okay because all my equipment will go more haywire than usual. But, they're kind of hard to deal with because they're so hyper intense. They just walked in the door 2 minutes ago and they've already known Loki for 80 lifetimes, and you're like, oh, sweet baby Jesus. And, you know, you're horrible, and they know because Loki told you. Uh huh. If I had money for every person that's walked up to me and told me Loki has a message for me, I'm like, that's funny because we talk on a regular basis, and, he hasn't told me he has some hidden message for me. Or Loki told me all this stuff about you, and it's only stuff they picked up from your channel or your articles or whatever you got going on your Tumblr or whatever. Yeah. The gods don't tattle on other people. I will tell you that right now. The gods are not gonna tattle on other people, and it's not fair to put the god in the middle. It's really not. And I know it's hard when somebody's coming at you and barking like a junkyard dog, and you're thinking, why? And you feel like the god did send them as a personal attack, because if the god really did love you, why did they let this happen? Gods can't control people. They cannot. If they could control people, do you really think Jesus would have the Westboro crazies running around, or Odin would have the alt-right running around? No, they wouldn't. So, gods can't control people, and some people are very out of control. And it's usually they've just come in the door and they want to establish dominance over the rest of us. And so they're extremely, extremely insecure, and they're just terrible. And nothing you do makes it better. In fact, it makes it worse. And um I looked at Loki and I said, I know I'm antisocial and grumpy, but um do you actually have a profile of people you work with? Because it'll seem like they come in cycles. Like when the Loki circus, as I call it, comes to town, all the Loki circus comes to town. And it seems like every time it comes, they add a tent. And if you're a Loki and you're all like, And it's like I can feel the Loki circus coming up over the hill. It hasn't arrived yet, but I'm like, oh shit, here it comes. and I looked at Loki and I said, if you're gonna play ringmaster, and it's never Loki's fault, it's people acting on their own. I said, I'm gonna stuff you in a barrel and you're not getting out this time. And he just gives you that cocky grin he gives you, and he walks away. The thing is, Loki loves to preen. We all know that. He loves to be a rock star, and he does like to show off. And sometimes, if he feels he hasn't gotten his share of the attention, even though it was usually his idea for you to branch out, he will sometimes get a tiny bit mean and rub your face in it, his other relationships and how popular he is. And, he will do sometimes deliberately be pushing your buttons. And the worst possible chaos storm is when he is deliberately pushing your jealousy buttons, whatever he knows works with you. And the Loki circus comes into town with all the Loki groupies and the Loki clowns and the Loki rodeo, and you're just looking at it and you want it to stop. And these people are all horrible and they're combative, or they're teaching a messed up lesson about what Lokeanism is. And it's not a sex cult, by the way. It has nothing to do with hanging yourself on meat hooks. It has nothing to do with anything scary or illegal. A lot of the associations Loki has, even among modern Lokeans, is stuff we either give him because we read it somewhere, and it was someone else's personal gnosis, or it's just something that a lot of people do in the community, and a lot of people picked it up. I actually try, and I know this is dumb for someone that runs a Lokean channel, I actually try to avoid the community like a plague, because there have been quite a few notable people that really took the community down some dark paths we never needed to go down. And I think it's still trying to, recover from that. Lokeanism, people will start saying things like Loki has red hair. There's nothing in the lore to say he's a redhead, just so he's handsome. Really no associations with fire. Yeah, we can all go to the lore and we can all pick out the contest with Loki, and we can all pick out this other text where he has this sword and there's this wall of flame and there's this thing. And I'm like, well, for one, Loki could be a common name. If you read any of the actual text on them, academic text, they will tell you Loki was often used as a name for something like an elf or a fairy or something like that. So Loki can be a common name. We're not even sure if it's the same Loki they're talking about. Is it Loki the god, or like this kind of elf or fairy? And Loki, don't help. And also, there are a lot of other UPG things that we've all read the same books by now, unfortunately. And they kind of get ingrained in your memory. And Loki's usually pretty easygoing, whether it actually ever happened or not. If some other Lokian tells you this happened and you go, Loki, did this happen? Is this secret lore? He'll be like, yeah, whatever, especially if he can get what he wants. But, you have to take a delicate approach when dealing with these people. And by delicate approach, I mean don't get mad yourself and yell, because then they've got the attention, they've gotten exactly what they wanted. You kind of have to ignore them. You kind of have to put them on mute or block them on your channel or your Twitter or whatever you've got going on. And don't engage. A lot of the wars start because, and I learned this the hard way, because you think my temper's bad now, it used to be even more volatile. They're going to always looking for engagement. They're always going to be looking for battles. They're always going to be looking for people to fight with. And in my younger days, I was told, you're always finding people to fight with because you're always looking for a fight. And they are. They're at the stage in their personality right now where they're always looking for a fight. They got a chip on their shoulder. And this chip happens to do with Loki. And they're a little too obsessed with him right now. And they're acting a little culty and a little scary. And the veteran Lokeans know that there's nothing you can do other than ignore and block and don't get drug into the drama. There will always be a new mistress in town. The mistresses with the furs, as we call them on this channel, that will parade up and down and say, Loki loves me best, Loki loves me more, Loki did this thing with me, Loki did that thing with me, Loki gave me this, Loki gave me that. And you can plug in the name of any other god. You could do this with Odin, you could do this with Jesus, you could do this with a Buddha. Oh, they got all the stuff and you don't got it. And they're intense groupies, and they're insecure at the same time because, for whatever reason, whatever they got going on now or whatever went on in their past, they have this, they have this insecurity. And before I made the video, I went to make sure I at least have a vague idea of the psychology, and I did what everyone else does. I went and I read Psychology Today. We all have jealousy, and there's an evolutionary reason for that. Um, Jealous males will protect their females and protect their mates, and vice versa. A female will get jealous for very different reasons, but she will protect her mate and protect her offspring. And so, up to a point, jealous feelings, protective feelings are good. You don't want someone coming in and just taking your family away from you. But, there are also times where it's not warranted either. They said in the article, and it's very true, jealousy is just agitated, activated, hostile worry, is what it is. At the end of the day, these people are worried that maybe they feel like they're not good enough for the gods. I think we all go through that we're not worthy phase. You have to get over that eventually with Loki. You just do. With any god, but with Loki you do. It's cute at first, and I think it appeals to his ego, and then not so much. Um and maybe they don't feel worthy. Maybe they don't feel secure unless they can chase everyone else away, which is not realistic, but maybe, from whatever they got going on now, or they had going on in the past, maybe that taught them the only way to be safe in a relationship is to chase everyone else away, which isn't realistic. But I've known them in all flavors, unfortunately. I've known them as Christians, I've known them as Lokeans, pagans, heathens, even atheists that are like, they have to be top atheist that doesn't believe in everything, and everybody else has to go away, and they can only be the only atheist. And I'm like, I don't think you realize how atheism works. But, you will always have those people coming in. And it feels like we haven't had the drama of a year. Now, I do avoid the Lokean community on purpose because there always seems to be a free traveling circus for Loki, and it's coming to your town soon. And, so I tend to try to actually honestly avoid the community. The people, I've honestly had to steer people to the door because they keep insisting, well, you have to go to join this community or that community. It's like, no, I don't do it on purpose for this reason. But it feels like the Loki circus hasn't quite pulled into town yet, but it feels timely for one of you. So, if you've got a groupie running around and trying to make you jealous and trying to push all your jealousy buttons, um, just mute them, put them on block. Don't let anybody lie to you. Usually they'll do the same thing. We might as well have share experience times. They either say, Loki said, Loki told me, Loki has a secret message for you, Loki hates you because he told me, blah, 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 blah. If the sentence starts with Loki said, you can be sure Loki hasn't said it because he will get a message to you loud and clear. I went up just to take a rest because I was just done today. I could not even. And I turn on the radio and I get mentor in one sentence, and like two sentences later I get gift, and I'm like, okay. um so I thought about that time in our relationship, and it was a really hard, difficult part. There was a part of our relationship where he portrayed himself as a Tengu for over a year, and I thought he was Tengu. And this went on for over a year because there were jealous, toxic people in the community that absolutely ruined the relationship. And Loki is very determined and more than a little bit sneaky, so he's like, okay, I will do this thing and I will keep up the relationship. Now, of course, I was very mad and hurt when he finally revealed it had been him all this time, but um I, so I'm kind of speaking for experience. Don't let other people drive you away from Loki. Don't let the groupies and the haters and the clingers on and the power junkies drive you away. Chances are they won't stay in the community, or even if they stayed in the community to the day they die, which is hopefully tomorrow, and in a ridiculously spectacular fashion. I got back here. Um, even if they stay to the day they die, you don't have to be with them. The internet is big enough, and there are enough block functions on the internet. You don't have to have anything to do with these people anymore. It's not like back in the 90s where they could just stalk you everywhere forever. You can do enough things on the internet, and if it does get truly problematic, then that is when you can, you usually don't want to put the God in the middle, but that is when you can go to the God and say, hey, as long as you haven't been the one starting it, make sure you haven't been the one pushing their buttons. If you are the innocent party and you truly haven't been going out of your way to make them jealous, go to the God and say, well, so and so claims to have a relationship with you, and I'm not trying to put you in the middle, but they're starting to get kind of stalkery. They're starting to get kind of aggressive. They won't go away. Then the God will usually deal with it. And if it doesn't feel like that God is dealing with it, this is why I do believe in keeping lines of communication open. There will usually be gods that will deal with it, goddesses, whomever you would deal with. That'll be like, yeah, that's not acceptable because none of us should be running around interfering with anybody else's relationship. Most people get pretty tetchy if, those people knock on your door. Those people, the ones I mean. Most people will pretend to be dead rather than answer the door when they show up. So don't do it to other people. Not only don't try to force your God on people, but don't try to take their God away from them. That's unfair and unkind. But there are always going to be people trying to do that, trying to be last Lokean standing, try to be the best love mistress, try to be the greatest groupie ever. I'm your biggest fan. So it feels super timely for one of you, and I know it hurts. I know it's painful when people get nasty and bitchy and toxic. I know, I've been there, done that, have the shirt and team jacket or whatever the saying is. But, don't waste time letting it get under your skin. Get the anger and the sad and the upset and whatever else you feel out in whatever way's healthy for you. And then, just ignore them. Keep in mind, if they really are dealing with Loki, he has a fucking long memory and he will remember what they did. And it's not just a case of, we don't get to start shit and then run to Loki and look adorable or look really sad and say, I'm sorry. Sometimes we get a pass, sometimes we get fucking lucky and get a couple passes in a row, and sometimes he teaches a lesson. And what's Loki's favorite tactic? He will wait. He will wait until it matters. It might be years after you did something, and he might have even said, "No, you're okay." And he will teach you the lesson, and you'll go, "But why, Loki? Why?" And he'll say, "Remember all that drama you were starting in the community, and I told you it was okay? Yeah, well, I lied in this lesson time." So, it's gonna be okay. I'm watching so many people run around try to destroy communities online in 2020 because they got nothing else going on, I guess. And I figured it feels timely for one of you. But don't let people do that. Don't let people ruin your relationship with Loki or any other god or goddess. And don't follow the advice of me or anyone else blindly. You are your own human being. You're supposed to think for yourself. This isn't not saying this to be disrespectful. This isn't Christianity or any other established religion where you have to listen to a leader. 1 second, guys. Oh, sorry about that. He got incense today, and my allergies don't appreciate it. But don't let anyone else's relationship, ruin yours. Don't let them take away your relationship because they're jealous and insecure. And at the same time, because they'll usually use jealousy as a tactic too. Don't let your jealousy ruin your relationships. It's actually something that, since I've had a lot of time on my hands in 2020, I've tried to work on for myself. If you have triggers, and no matter how many times you've tried to get over those triggers, it just doesn't help, and you've tried prayer and you've tried magic, and you've tried everything else. When humanly possible, avoid those triggers. There's no reward for subjecting yourself to channels or websites or videos or books if it's just going to make you feel terrible and insecure. If you know every single time you've done it, it triggers something, you don't have to do it. You are supposed to be working on your own relationship, not trying to imitate someone else's relationship, not being upset because you didn't get the same gifts and you haven't had the same life and you haven't had the same experiences. Not feeling, as most of us do, especially when we first start out with a deity, well, I haven't had X, Y, and Z happen, so therefore I'm not as loved or precious. We're all equally loved, and it's not a contest. I often say it's not last Lokean standing, and it truly is not. So, if you do find yourself getting jealous, if you're the one who's getting jealous and ready to implode because so and so got this and so got that, let it go, man. You have gotten your own gifts, and a lot of times Loki won't even say what gifts he's given you. You've gotten your own gifts over whatever time you've been together, and you will continue to get your own gifts if you're not going around trying to, attack everybody else. So, it's a thing of we have to not only be able to shut out and ignore as much as possible the people that go around being drama llamas and singing their drama llama song and being the jealous groupie type, but we also have to safeguard against that in ourselves because we can all get jealous. It's healthy to an extent, but it's jealous feelings are okay. It's jealous behavior that usually starts the trouble. We all feel jealous from time to time. We do, especially if people are trying to do it to us. It usually works pretty damn well. But it's acting on those jealous feelings. It's stopping your relationship with your chosen patron, deity, whatever Loki is to you. That does the damage. And, I'm not going to say, oh, you're letting them win or something like that because it never made me feel any better. But it's not worth it giving up on Loki or giving up on any other god just to make a petty little human happy. Look at it that way. And your existence is bothering the hell out of them, and that's the most Lokean thing you could possibly ever do. Loki is probably ever so proud of you. So it felt super timely for one of you because I'm like, I haven't seen the shit show in our community because I avoid our community, but I'm like, it's fucking coming. It's coming. It's happened to the heathens. It's happening to the pagans. It's happening to the Christians. Satanism is just fucking caught on fire, burning at the dock. I'm like, it's coming for the Lokeans. So this felt timely, guys. But I hope you're having a good one. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I hope you found that useful. So if you did, like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you later. Bye bye.